Looks like the Flint Razors Thieves Guild is about to have another close shave. Hello everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire, here to keep on talking about the first edition Pathfinder Vigilante, today actually going over their feats and all the Vigilante talents that you want to select as you advance through your career as a Vigilante. Now, I wanted to talk about them last time, but as I mentioned in the description down underneath the video, I just ran out of time, and also blending all of this together was causing the video to run a little bit long, so I had to cut corners where I could and make things work. But today we will cover all of that. But before we get into it, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or, if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on such an incredible roster of legendary heroes, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. But now let's start talking about the feats that you want to pick out. And of course, to kick things off, for your bonus feat, if you pick out being a human at level 1, we want to take Quick Draw. You draw your weapon as a free action. This is going to be incredibly helpful for you whether you're a vigilante or a stalker styled vigilante. An avenger or stalker. My mistake there, folks. But then, for your other first level feat, you want to take Dodge for that +1 dodge bonus to AC. This does help you a bit more than it does with other classes, given that we are limited to medium armor, and we're not going to be using shields per se with this particular build, so this does help you a bit, but it's more feat tax than anything else. But for your level 2 Vigilante talent, we are going to pick up Lethal Grace, getting Weapon Finesse and 1/2 your class level to damage. And then at level 3, we are going to take Piranha Strike. When using a light melee weapon, you can take a -1 to attack on all melee combat maneuver rolls for +2 damage, half for offhand. This increases when your base attack bonus hits 4 and every 4 points after, with the attack penalty increasing by -1 and damage by 2. So this is basically power attack, but for dex-based builds, using light weapons and like, so rapiers, scimitars, things like that, daggers even as well. Then, for your level 4 Vigilante talent, you're going to take Signature Weapon. You gain Weapon Focus, and at level 8, gain Weapon Specialization. And for this, you're going to either pick out Rapier or Scimitar. Both of those will do a lot for you, and since they're both light weapons, you'll get all of your previous Vigilante talents like Lethal Grace applying onto it, and using Piranha Strike as well, so this all meshes together pretty nicely. And then when we hit level 5, we're going to pick up the 2-weapon fighting feat. Penalties for fighting with 2 weapons are reduced by 2 for main hand and 6 for offhand. With this feat and a light weapon in the offhand, your penalties will be -2/-2. Ideally, what you're going to be taking is a rapier and a dagger, or rapier and scimitar, or if you're going to do double rapier, you can technically by the rules mechanics and everything, but from a historical kind of flavor and fluff sort of a standpoint, 2 long weapons like that paired together does not mechanically work well in real world physics mechanics, because when you have both your blades out and you're set like this, where your blades are kind of crossed like that, all your opponent has to do is come in and hit whichever blade is on the outside, and bam, both of your weapons are locked up, and now you're having to kind of readjust, reposition, and maneuver while you're opened up. All they have to do is make a light step, and bam, right into your shoulder, your chest, along your neck, your face. It creates all kinds of vulnerabilities. So from a real world physics standpoint, a small weapon like a dagger, a good parrying dagger, and a rapier or scimitar, those work pretty nicely. Though by the rules, you can use 2 rapiers, 2 scimitar, and get along just fine there. Now, moving on from that, we have the combat skills Slashing Grace, level 6 Vigilante talent. Choose a light or one-handed slashing weapon, so scimitar, and use your dexterity modifier for damage instead of strength. So this again begins to pool everything together nicely. So 2-weapon fighting, your scimitars getting dexterity for damage instead of strength, and then Piranha Strike as well as Lethal Grace. All of these sources of damage come together to really up the amount of damage that you're doing on a baseline there. So it's awesome, an awesome combination to have. Then, at level 7, you want to pick up 2-weapon Grace. Use Slashing Grace while fighting with 2 weapons. Apply 1/2 dexterity to offhand weapon damage, and penalties for 2-weapon fighting increased by 2. So those penalties do stack up a fair bit there, and you may have to make decisions on when you're using Piranha Strike, just because you don't want too many negative modifiers stacking up on your attacks, especially since offhand you'll be much more likely to miss, but it is still great to have that option there. But at level 7, this is a great method to stack everything together to help you clear out a lot of the chaff enemies, a lot of the goons, the minions that are sent out to really try to slow you down and cause your party to deplete a lot of resources. This will let you carve through them efficiently. Then, for your level 8 Vigilante talent, you're picking up Sure-Footed. Move full speed without penalty while using Stealth and Acrobatics, and by 8th level, which is when we're picking this up, also you get to move full speed across difficult terrain. So a lot of those different spells that can create those kinds of barriers like difficult terrain, this will let you circumnavigate those really effectively, and using Stealth and Acrobatics at full speed without penalty is massive. This does so much for you in getting into position and striking your enemy devastating blows while they're caught unawares. Then at level 9, you're going to pick up Mobility. Gain +4 armor class against attacks of opportunity when you move through an opponent's threatened space. Dodge bonuses stack, so if you're charging through a group of enemies, that's +5 AC total for you moving through them, which is going to be incredibly valuable for you. It's going to help to offset the fact that you're not using a shield, that you're not using heavy armor. Hell, even if you have those things, another +5 to AC doesn't hurt anything. This will save you a ton of damage value that would otherwise be dropping down on you. Then, for your level 10 Vigilante talent, we're going to pick up Close the Gap. At the start of your turn, each round, designate a foe within 20 feet that isn't adjacent to you. When you move, provoke no attacks of opportunity from that foe, as long as you end your movement adjacent to them. If you charge, you don't take the -2 penalty to AC on any attacks made by the target. So, you are really going to be negating a lot of attacks of opportunity, and you're going to afford yourself quite a bit of mobility on the battlefield. Now, this is only within a 20-foot range, but given the heavy armors you're likely to, or the medium armors you're likely to still be wearing by this point, you're probably only moving about 20 feet each round anyway, so this works out really nicely. Then, for 11th level, you're going to pick up Armor Skin. No longer apply armor check penalties to Acrobatics, Escape Artists, and Stealth while wearing light or medium armor. And at level 8, move full speed in these armors. So that will actually do quite a bit for you as well. It's massively useful. Armor Skin is just great, because armor check penalties will normally apply to your Acrobatics or Stealth abilities. Then, for your level 12 Vigilante talent, we're going to pick up Mad Rush. When you charge, make a full attack. When you use this, take a -4 penalty to AC until the start of the next turn, in addition to the -2 from charging. Only an Avenger of 12th level can take this. So, I can probably imagine that you're seeing the theme here. You're going to be getting a lot of mobility. You're getting your 2-weapon fighting. You're still going to be able to make full attacks. And with your dexterity modifier, you're going to be getting some significant damage on top of Piranha Strike, on top of Slashing Grace. All of these things are going to stack together really beautifully. This is going to be a wonderful combination for you to play with. But for level 13, to help with your defensive abilities, we're going to grab 2 weapon defense. Gain a +1 shield bonus when fighting with 2 weapons or double weapons. Increases to +2 when fighting defensively or using the total defense action. So this is where that idea of using your offhand for a defensive-oriented kind of attack and setup, you know, using a short sword or a dagger to kind of be parrying and deflecting enemy strikes coming in, tends to work way more effectively than having 2 medium-sized, 2 long weapons. Although, again, rules mechanics for Pathfinder and D&D, you can actually use 2 scimitars together just fine, and also might be a pretty solid way to go given the critical threat range that scimitars have pretty naturally. So definitely something worth considering there. Then, for your level 14 Vigilante talent, you're going to pick up Strike the Unseen, gaining Blind Fight as a bonus feat, and at level 10, getting Improved Blind Fight, and at level 16, you gain Greater Blind Fight, all of which help you to deal with opponents that you can't see, whether due to the fact that you're blinded or that your opponents are invisible. This helps to negate a lot of the cover bonuses and total concealment that they would otherwise have, so it reduces those miss percentages significantly. Definitely worthwhile to have. Picking up all 3 of these in one go for 1 Vigilante talent is actually pretty cool and also thematically on point. But from here, kind of run out of some ideas, unfortunately. There's a lot of things that you could throw in or consider. I'm having trouble deciding what would be best, because you could go with improved 2-weapon fighting to get an extra attack with your offhand, but that does come with significantly more penalties, and we will already have plenty of penalties dropping down on our attacks from using Piranha Strike and the like. So it's definitely something worth thinking about there. Of course, combat reflexes also works nicely as well. Since we are going to be stacking up our dexterity, that will net us more attacks of opportunity. The drawback to that being we're not using a polearm with this particular build, so our area of control is much more limited. But then again, with some good positioning, that will still be something that's a disadvantage that's negated right there. If you're blocking a doorway and enemies are trying to stream down at you, or if you're in a hallway and the same thing is happening and it's a relatively narrow hallway, you can still slice a bunch of enemies to ribbons. I mean, say you have a 24 for your dexterity bonus, that's 7 attacks of opportunity right there, so for a grand total of 8 attacks of opportunity is really freaking intense, especially with all of these bonuses there. And this is before we get into any weapon enhancements, any things like having your weapons enchanted with Holy or Axiomatic, or any of the Bane effects that you could be applying to your weapons. Hell, speed as well, throwing in some extra attacks on top of everything. Absolutely fantastic, and the combinations are just relentless. And you even have things like Vital Strike that you could throw in for those moments where you are unfortunately only able to make one single attack. You can still stack a significant amount of damage with that. But what do you think? Go on down to the comments below and let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? Either way, go on down below, hit those like or dislike buttons and let me know your thoughts so we can engage in discussion. Or, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there to hit the subscribe button and become a regular member here at the Gamers Den. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.